I'm back again. All the videos that I'm doing are going to be from entries that I've done on my written blog so that everybody gets the same message. And this one was called No More Shame, No More Fear. Did you know that many victims of sexual abuse and sexual assault don't come forward and don't talk about it? Why? It is because of feelings of shame, embarrassment, and fear. Children especially do not know how to deal with the feelings of confusion when it happens. It is very important for those who have experienced sexual abuse or sexual assault to know that they have done nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to be embarrassed about. They have done nothing wrong and did nothing to deserve what was done to them. It took me a long time to truly believe those last two statements, that I did nothing wrong and I did nothing to deserve what happened. The fear part took a little longer to deal with. Victims will fear different things, but some of those fears include but are not limited to not being believed, being judged for what happened, not being good enough because of what happened, feeling damaged, feeling that everyone knows even when they don't, and fearing that it will keep happening or get worse because you are helpless against the abuser. Well, I can explain from my perspective and experience. I was 8 when my dad left Texas to come to Virginia to find a better job. Before he left, my mom was seeing another man behind his back. We knew about him because she had taken us with her one night to meet him and had told us to stay quiet. I was less than impressed from the beginning. I felt he tried way too hard and was friendly to the point of being creepy. And over the months that followed, I would find out just how correct I was. I did not dare voice my opinions to Mom about him for fear that my young mouth would get me in trouble. The more this man was around, the more annoyed I was by him. He was eventually trusted to be left alone with us. He started seeking me out and saying crazy and perverted things. I felt confused and disgusted. I told him to leave me alone, and he said that my mom knew what he was doing, and he kept saying that she had told him to teach me. From there, he moved into saying that every man does and says these things with young girls and that no one talks about it because it is a secret game. It kept progressing to worse behavior, and one night he pulled me out of my bed and the molesting started. Afterward, I felt ashamed, disgusted, and dirty. It did not feel like a game. I cried myself to sleep wondering why would my mom want me to play a game like that. I felt so alone. The next morning, I got my siblings up for school and tried my hardest to look after them and get them to school. When we got to school, I felt different. I was panicking on the inside because I thought that people were going to find out the secret. I felt that they already knew what happened, and I felt that they were going to hate me and say I was disgusting and dirty. I avoided contact with everyone. I didn't even feel like playing on the playground. This cycle continued until my mom got rid of him. I was so relieved until her next boyfriend proved to be no picnic. He was physically and mentally abusive, and when she got rid of him only to get back with the first one again, I was shaken up. By this time, I was 9, and that school year was almost over. That one short year changed my life forever. By the end of that year, I had changed into a child that had been robbed of innocence and who had been through things most adults never experience. I did not know how to deal with what had happened, so I stuffed it and buried it so deep inside. I trusted no one. Not even my dad when he came to visit and decided last minute to take us with him to Virginia. I struggled with fear, shame, and guilt the first year we were here, but then buried everything for the most part until I was 15 when everything resurfaced. And when it did, it was awful. I was angry, I was confused, I could not trust anyone. I had a stepmother who would listen for a minute and then just tell me to pray about it. Even she did not care. At the time, I was keeping a diary, and I remember writing in it that I was going to commit suicide. I was going to end all the pain. I even felt like God didn't care. I mean, how could he? I had been taught that God had a purpose for all of us, that he knows what will happen in our life. How could he really care if he allowed all that bad stuff to happen? So in anger, I was outside crying and decided to test God. I was very specific in my prayer about who would be speaking on what date and what exactly would be said. I finished by saying that if it did not happen the way I said, that I would know that it was all a lie and that God did not care, and I would end my own suffering. Be careful what you ask for, because that particular Wednesday night, I went into the youth trailer with an attitude, looking sullen. I was sitting in the back like I always did, and the youth pastor started speaking, and I kind of just crossed my arms and sank down in my seat mumbling about, here we go again with this how much God cares crap. I felt myself being pulled up in my seat, and I distinctly heard, you asked for this, so now listen. That night I found out exactly how much God cared, because everything that the youth pastor unknowingly spoke was things I had specifically asked God for. That night I made up my mind to figure out a way to work through everything. I had to figure out how to forgive, to heal, to be different, to turn a tragedy into something positive. I have let fear hold me back a long time, but I am no longer a victim. I am a survivor. I'm not ashamed, and I'm not afraid. I am ready to get out there and tell my story. I want others to find the courage that I have. I want us all to change this horrible abuse, because no one else has to suffer anymore. If you or someone you know has been abused and you need help or you have questions, please email me at exposingsexualabuse@gmail.com. Thank you.